Director of the Sequoia Fund. My name is Brooke Warrington. I'm the Training and Development Specialist here at the Native Learning Center. Everybody's so thrilled that you could join us here today. If you could follow along as I read the disclaimer aloud. This webinar provides a summary of fundamental concepts, requirements, and/or procedures within the allotted 90 minutes. The material discussed does not illustrate all possible scenarios that could be applicable. We also have our copyright infringement law printed here. Just a friendly reminder that the materials are protected by copyright, trademark, trade secret, and other intellectual property laws. Before we get started, I want to familiarize you with how some of the features on Adobe works. So if you look at the top of your screen, you'll see an icon of a person with their hand raised, or you might just see a hand. With that icon, know that you can either raise your hand, agree, disagree, or step away. Your screen should look similar to this graphic here. To the bottom left, you'll see a box that says Files. Here you'll find a copy of a PDF of today's slides, as well as a participant worksheet. Just click on the item you want to download, and then click the arrow pointing downwards to download and save it onto your device. The next box over is labeled Web Links. This is where you'll find our survey about today's webinar, along with a link to join our email list, a link to connect with us on LinkedIn, and also a link to download the Adobe Connect app. It is a bit easier of a user experience on there. And then finally, all the way over to the right, we do have a chat box available. This is how you'll communicate with the instructor and the NLC staff today during the webinar. So if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to just type your message in and then hit enter or click the up arrow icon button to submit. We do encourage class participation, so feel free to keep those comments and those questions coming into the chat box. If you're having any tech support issues, you could also send that in. Let's make sure everybody's chat box is working together, if you wouldn't mind. Let's go ahead and start by introducing yourself. Tell us your name, where you're joining us from, your work or the role that you fulfill in Indian country, and then your tribal affiliation, please. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to you now, Russ.
Thanks, Brooke. Welcome, everybody. Brooke, real quick, before we get going, while everybody's putting their name and location into the chat box, if we continue to have a small group, rather than breaking up into breakout sessions, is it possible just to unmute everyone and let us have a little chat?
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Fantastic. We may do that instead of breaking everyone up. But I want to welcome everybody again. My name is Russ Siegel, and I'm happy to be with you. You could have spent your afternoon doing any number of things, but I'm honored that you're here with us today. I am the Executive Director of the Sequoia Fund. We are a native CDFI serving the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians in Western North Carolina. We do small business loans, we do consumer loans, credit builder loans. We do a lot of programming around artists and trying to help our artists and our small businesses just to be better at what they do. I've been doing this for over 25 years. I'm I guess what you would call a serial entrepreneur. I've been a business owner since I was about 11 years old. I wanted to buy a mini bike from the fella down the street. I wanted 50 bucks. So I told my dad I needed 50 bucks, and he said, "No, you don't. You need a job." And he pointed me to the rakes, the shovels, the ladders, the mowers, everything in the garage, and told me just to go out there and get to work. So I made $50. I bought that mini bike, and it ran for about 3 days. It was the greatest purchase of my life. And then it died, and it never ran again. And so I decided to I could either be disappointed or I could just do it again. And I decided to do it again because that was pretty fun. And I went out and made another 50 bucks, and then I made another 50 bucks. And this was back in the 70s, where 50 bucks was actually 50 bucks. But I was hooked. I was hooked at that time. I realized that I could control my economic destiny. And so I've been trying to impart that on folks, that mindset and these skills for well over 25 years. I believe that everything I'm going to teach you today is a learnable set of skills. Marketing is one of those things that we end up doing in our business, whether we want to or not. And here at Sequoia Fund, a lot of times we talk to people about, well, why are you starting a business? And we find that sometimes they're starting a business to escape an unpleasant work situation or something that they just don't enjoy. And we have to remind them that you are starting a business doing something that you love, and that's only one of the jobs you're buying. You're buying another 14 jobs or sometimes more that you may know nothing about, and you may not be happy doing those jobs, but now they're yours. And so today we're going to talk about how to make your business better, how to make your business stand out, how to help you make more money, and how to do one of those jobs better than ever before. So it's not a burden, it's not drudgery, it's something that you, I think, will enjoy doing. We're going to talk about why it's important to be distinct. Why should you stand out? We see so many businesses that want to just be run of the mill, so, join the crowd, do what everyone else does, and they fail, unfortunately. It's the businesses that stand out that succeed. I'm going to talk about one or two of those today, one that you probably have heard about and one that you, I'm sure, almost positively have not heard about. We'll talk about the marketing basics. I see these as ingredients to a delicious recipe that if it's done right, it's gonna make a delicious dish. If it's done wrong, it's just gonna taste kind of and it's not gonna be something that you want to have anything to do with. So we're gonna look at your marketing basics in a little different way today. I'm going to introduce you to the pyramid of distinction. We're going to walk through that and show you how you can set your business apart and the different stages of that. I'll give you some steps to standing out, and you might find that you are not at the step or the stage where you would like to be. We'll have a plan for how to get you on up those stairs. We'll talk about the three things that all customers demand. You yourself demand these things. You're a customer. You buy things from other businesses. And you, without even acknowledging these things, demand these things from the companies you do business with. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to learn how to be not only cognizant of those things, but to be appreciative of those things, because those are, again, things that if we do well, we stand out. And very, very quickly at the end, you're going to have a very brief plan for setting yourself apart, for creating a distinction plan. So I want to make sure that I reiterate, go ahead and download the participant worksheets. Your version of today's slides is a little bit pared down from what you'll see as we go through this. And there's a reason for that. There are just some things that probably are not going to benefit you long term, but they're going to be of use to us today. Go ahead and download that. There's always some content there that I think everybody can benefit from. But make sure you get those participant worksheets. They're very, very valuable to you today. They're only 2 pages, but we're gonna use them up. So there are 2 ways that you can compete. There are 2 competitive advantages, so to speak. One is pricing. You can be the low price leader. You can be the lowest priced product or service in your field. But as we found out through one of our clients, you can't out Walmart. Once you start to price lower than your competitor, it becomes a race to the bottom. It becomes a war of attrition. It really comes down to who can outlast the other. If I have more cash on hand than you, I will match your prices, or I will price lower than you, and I will force you to lower your prices until you run out of money. And then I'll raise my prices back up. You've probably seen businesses that do this or have done this. So pricing is not the way to go. You will either outlive your competitor or your competitor will outlive you. The way that I recommend you compete is to differentiate. Differentiate your product, differentiate your service, differentiate your experience, differentiate your company. Tom Peters, excellent author and business consultant, guru, however you want to classify him. He literally wrote the book on distinction and how to be a brand. And he said you can either be distinct or you can be extinct. Now, one of the businesses that I want to refer to is a little fast food restaurant that you may have eaten at. It's called Chick-fil-A. And for a long time, my youngest daughter, when she was a kid, she was hoping that we would never have a Chick-fil-A in our town. And I asked her why, because I knew she loved the chicken nuggets. I knew that she loved their food, their waffle fries, their lemonade. And I asked, why don't you want a Chick-fil-A? And she said, because then I wouldn't be as excited to drive 30 minutes and have an experience. For her, going one town over to Chick-fil-A was an event. It was something that she really looked forward to doing. And to have one just down the street was not appealing to her. Now, this is a kid who, when she graduated college and was getting ready to start her master's degree program, or her doctorate rather, she worked for Chick-fil-A and had a wonderful experience. But in its early days, Chick-fil-A was just another run-of-the-mill fast food restaurant. They served shoestring fries like McDonald's. They just served a chicken sandwich. That's all they had. They advertised like every other fast food restaurant. They would take a picture of the food and put it on a billboard or put it in a newspaper ad or on a coupon, just like every other fast food restaurant. But McDonald's, Burger King, hey, they were spending as much in a week on advertising, sometimes in a day, depending on the time of year. They were spending that much. They were spending more than Chick-fil-A was spending in an entire year. Here's this little company that started in Georgia, near Atlanta, and they were doing what everyone else was doing. Now, years later, they came up with an ad campaign. And you may remember this. They said, we didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich. And that was a memorable ad campaign. It said a lot in a very short few words. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich. It let everyone know that they were the first. They were the first. And if you're the first, well, sometimes there's an indication that maybe if you're first, you're the best. You figured this out. You've done something different. Earlier than the first ad campaign of we didn't invent the chicken, they had an ad campaign that called themselves the Unburger. They were the Unburger. They started calling themselves the Chick-fil-A in 1967 or so. They also found out that other businesses had no qualms about calling their chicken sandwiches a Chick-fil-A. So they had to send out a lot of letters from their attorneys. Cease and desist. Hey, we're not just a chicken fillet. We are Chick-fil-A, and that is a brand. And then came the cows. The Chick-fil-A cows in about 1996 came along as an ad campaign, and they put one billboard in Atlanta, south of Atlanta, near the Atlanta Jackson Hartsfield International Airport. One billboard, that's it. They put the cows on there, painting those famous words, eat more chicken. They found that one billboard got them more calls, more in-store comments, more laughs, more newspaper write-ups, more news segments on the evening news. It got them a lot of press. That one billboard outpaced all of the other advertising they were doing. And they realized we don't have to put a picture of a chicken sandwich on a billboard like everybody else. Because let's face it, it's a piece of chicken with 2 pickles on a bun. It's not that exciting. So they said, what if we just stop doing what every other fast food restaurant does? What if we talk to our customers and ask them what makes them tick? What makes them want to come to a Chick-fil-A? Well, they started asking around, and the answers were pretty clear. They were distinct. They weren't distinct because they had an unburger or because they had a chicken sandwich. Good as it is, they were distinct because of the way people were treated in the restaurants. They felt like this was a more expensive restaurant than it really was. At the time, most of their restaurants were in shopping malls. Today, they still have, if there's still a mall around, there's probably a Chick-fil-A there. So they staked their claim at shopping malls. They decided we are going to be distinct. We're going to be where nobody else is. There's not going to be any other competition around here. And they went for what is known as a blue ocean strategy. Blue ocean strategy just means that there are no other competitors in sight, or the competitors who are there are not really a threat to you. But they said, look, we can sell a cheaper chicken sandwich than everybody else, but why would we? Because our chicken sandwich is better. Rather than racing to the bottom with pricing, they took this little unsexy chicken sandwich. They stopped taking pictures of it. They stopped sending out coupons. They even changed from shoestring fries to curly fries because there was a greater value perception there. People thought, oh, wow, this is a better product. This is a better potato. And then they came out with salads, and people said, oh, that's healthier. It's healthier to eat at Chick-fil-A than at other places. And time again, when they had an opportunity to compete in other ways, they chose to compete by being different. We're going to be different. We're going to be distinct. And that will keep us from going extinct. One of the ways that they started to advertise was different from other fast food restaurants as well. They started advertising by sponsoring college bowl games. Football postseason bowl games became the domain of Chick-fil-A. Now, not everybody can do that. I'm not suggesting that you run out and sponsor a bowl game. The NCAA has a lot of regulations around that, and it's kind of expensive. But again, nobody else was doing it. They, time and time again, stepped into areas where others wouldn't, couldn't, didn't want to. They became like our friendly little dinosaur here, of a different color with the sunglasses. They said, we are going to stand out. We're going to stand out in every way. And so if you're going to compete by being distinct. It will keep you from going extinct. Remember, I said that when you start a small business, you don't just have one job. You're not just working on cars or decorating houses or cleaning houses or mowing lawns or pressure washing RVs or grooming pets or whatever. You're not just doing the thing. You're doing all of the other things in the business. So let's not think of marketing as a department. Marketing is not just one person's job. Marketing now is everybody's job. Marketing is everybody's job. And we had that conversation here at Sequoia Fund. Everybody has business cards. If they hear somebody talking in the grocery line or at Walmart or someplace like that, if they hear somebody talking about fixing up their home, I've got this old BIA home that's just I need a new bathroom. Hey, my folks turn around and hand them a card and say, I'm with Sequoia Fund. Give me a call. We can help with that. Because fixing up a bathroom, fixing up a kitchen, those things are not cheap. They've never really been cheap, but they're certainly not cheap anymore. If they hear somebody talking about wanting to start a business, here's my card. Everybody here is in the marketing business. Now, We do have one person who runs our social media. She does a great job, but that's just to keep my hands off of it. She runs the social media, so Russ doesn't jump in and mess something up. She's really the gatekeeper, the guardian of the social media accounts. So Russ isn't tempted to do that because I can do that sometimes. Now, everybody being part of the marketing arm of Sequoia Fund makes my life easier because I don't have to be the only one with a bullhorn out there yelling at folks, come in and borrow some money. Everybody's talking to everybody. They're showing up at community club events. They're showing up at school events. I mean, they're wherever people are talking about what we can do and how Sequoia Fund can help. In fact, Sequoia Fund, I know you can't really see this, it's very, very, very tiny print on my shirt there in the corner. But under the words Sequoia Fund, you see in red in Cherokee, Sequoia Analanishki, which means Sequoia helps everyone, or Sequoia the helper. And that is our Cherokee name, Sequoia Analanishki. So it is one of those things that we very much focus on, that we are all about helping people. And if everybody's out there marketing us, I sleep better at night. I don't have to do it alone. But whenever you hire someone, even if you're a one-person operation and you have friends, if you have customers, let your customers be your marketing department. Let them be evangelists for your business. Let your spouse, your kids, your parents, your neighbors, people who love you will talk about you. People who trust you will talk about you. And we're not talking about advertising today. Yes, I've mentioned a couple of things that Chick-fil-A did. But advertising really is not about getting sales. Advertising is about getting noticed. A good advertising campaign, or even a good advertisement, will just say to people, or get people saying, I like what you said. I like how you said it. I like you. I trust you. I want to do business with you. If you get to that stage, then you can close a sale. Then you can actually sell something to them. But it's really just about getting noticed. Well, advertising is one of those things that we all seem to just focus on. It's the big ingredient in the cake. If you bake a cake and you just throw some sugar, some flour, and an egg in a bowl and you stick it in the oven, you're probably going to have a mess, but you're not going to have a cake. The cake needs other ingredients, and the cake needs those ingredients in the right proportions. So when we start talking about marketing, we're going to talk about the marketing mix. And I want you to think about the marketing mix as a cake mix. If we do this right, it's going to be delicious. It's going to look great. It's going to have people just oohing and eyeing over us, and they're going to say, wow, that looks like a delicious cake. I want part of that. If we do it wrong, we're probably just going to be throwing money away. But advertising is the one thing that we tend to focus on when we think about marketing, when we think about setting ourselves apart, differentiating. I'm just going to come up with a clever ad campaign, and I'm not going to do anything else different, but I'm going to say things are different. Okay. Well, that's one little piece of one ingredient. So let's go through these. Let's think about these for just a moment. One is your product. Now, it could be a service, but I'm going to use products because marketers like to think about things all starting with the same letter. That's just a thing. But whatever it is that you sell, whatever people pay you for is your product. And you could be doing reselling on eBay or Amazon marketplace, Facebook Marketplace. You could be taking furniture and upcycling furniture, painting it, refinishing it, selling it. You could be making art, one-of-a-kind products. We have a program here where we ship products for our artists, and we say right there on the website that, if something happens in shipping, you're going to be waiting a while because we can't just go grab another pot off the shelf. We have to, maybe this was a $300 wedding pot, and we're going to have somebody have to make that again. And so whatever your product is, it's the thing that people are paying you for. It says something about you. It says something about how you value quality. It says something about how you value yourself. Are you making good stuff, or are you just kind of throwing things together and hoping somebody pays you for it? Are you doing the minimal amount of service, or are you providing a top quality service? What does this thing look like, smell like, feel like? What's the warranty on it? How well do you back it up? Are you going to take care of people if something is wrong? That's all part of your product, your warranty, your guarantee. And your price. A lot of times we don't think about price as part of our marketing mix, but it very much is. I mean, if you buy the base model Chevrolet versus the top, what is it, a Z06 Corvette, whatever the range is there, you got a lot of stuff in the middle. But if you walked onto a Cadillac dealer lot and you said, wow, I really love this Cadillac, but I only have enough money for this base model entry level car, they're going to walk you over to that base model entry level car because there's a price for every pocketbook. But your price, if they just gave you the Cadillac for that price, well, what would you think? You can think, oh, wow, wait a minute, I didn't expect that. Maybe something's wrong. Maybe something's wrong with this Cadillac. At the same time, if they took you over to the base model, no frills, no bells and whistles, entry level car, $17,000, and they said, wait, it's not 17,000. We're going to charge you the Cadillac price. It's going to be 67,000. Ooh, wait a minute. Now is this car made of gold? Is it made of titanium? What is going on here? Your price is commensurate with the value you give. There are a lot of companies out there looking just to take money in exchange for a product. That's very transactional. This is one of the things that Chick-fil-A did as well. They said, we are not just going to trade food for money. We're actually going to price our food in a way that says to people, this is good quality food. Now, they give away a lot of food. When they open up a new restaurant, they give away a lot of food. In fact, the first 100 people through the door on opening day get free Chick-fil-A for a year. So they give away a lot of food. But their price says something about how they view themselves, their product, their customer. If you have a Rolex versus a Timex, both of those watches tell time, but they are not the same price. So you have to think about what you're selling and say, am I a budget-friendly product or service? Are we a value product or service, which means we're kind of middle of the road? Are you a luxury product? We're not just selling boats, we're selling yachts. We're not just selling watches, we're selling Rolexes or Tag Heuers or something like that. We're selling top of the line premium products. If you walk past the jewelry store in a town nearby us, you can walk by the jewelry store, and if you walked in, they're going to greet you with a friendly smile and they're going to help you. If you go past a jewelry store in Las Vegas, they have guards in that store because the stuff they're selling is priced so much higher than what you could buy in little old Western North Carolina. Your price communicates to people. Oh, and by the way, we're never not communicating. Let me repeat that. We are never not communicating. Everything you do in your business communicates something about your business, about you, about your customer, about how you view your customer. So we are never not communicating. And price is part of our communication. Place. Now, sometimes we think about place as the location, where we are. Well, maybe I'm located in my basement. Maybe I'm located in a spare bedroom or at the dining room table. Maybe I'm located in a walk-in closet. Maybe I'm located in the back corner of my cousin's machine shop. Wherever I am, that is a place. But there are other places. And we have to be keeping these places in mind because we need to think about places where customers will look for us. Yeah, back to Chick-fil-A. the vast majority of their advertising nationwide is billboard advertising, that old school outdoor, right on the highway billboard. They have just figured out that that works for them. The billboard is something that is a good tool for them because their customers are looking for it. They're driving down the road, they're hungry. They're saying, okay, I'm going to get off at exit 46. I'm going to have Chick-fil-A, unless it's a Sunday. I'm going to go to Chick-fil-A and have something to eat. So when they moved out of the malls, they started looking for places that were conveniently located, lots of room, lots of parking, lots of drive-through space, close to intersections, so that when you get off that exit, you don't have to drive 3 miles into town to find the Chick-fil-A. They're right there by the interstate or right there by the highway. Place is important, but if I can't find them on that billboard, maybe I don't know they're there and I'm not even thinking about them. Place could be, are your customers looking for you on Google? Do you have a Google My Business profile? Are you searchable? Are you findable if they search for you? And I'm gonna preach just for a minute here. I got to get down and we got to preach some hellfire and brimstone for just a minute. Please don't be a business that says I'm gonna put everything I've got into a free Facebook page. I'm not gonna buy advertising. I'm not gonna build a website. I'm not gonna have flyers. I'm not gonna do outdoor advertising. I'm not gonna do radio. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna go on Facebook every now and then, and I'm gonna say we're open until 3 today, or we're open until 7 tomorrow. That is no way to be. That is not going to get you anywhere. That is not going to set your business apart. It is not going to differentiate you. There's nothing wrong with Facebook, by the way. I'm just using that as an example. But I see a lot of small businesses say, I want to go for the free route and I want to advertise. I just want to tell people about us on Facebook. Well, Facebook's algorithm, number one, is only going to get you, let's say you have 1 million people who like you on Facebook. Anything you post, you might get 1,000 people see it. That's the way they do business. They want you to pay for those eyeballs. They want you to pay for people to see you. So they're going to show very few people what's called organic content. Well, you don't know which 1,000 people are looking at it. It could be so-and-so's brother-in-law who just liked it because they accidentally clicked on it when they were looking at somebody else's picture from your business. You want really good control over where you are found. So if you know that your customers are on Facebook, don't just be on Facebook, the free version. Don't just have a profile there. Maybe think about advertising on Facebook. If you know that your customers are all on Instagram, well, don't bother with Twitter. Don't bother with a billboard. Don't take out an ad in the newspaper. Be on Instagram. I used to have people come to me and they say, well, Russ, I'm spending $300 a month on newspaper ads and I'm not getting any traction. And my first question is always, are your customers reading that newspaper? Now here in Cherokee, we have the Cherokee One Feather and everybody reads it. So if you have a local business, you're almost foolish not to advertise in the One Feather. But if you're not getting the kind of traction you need from it and you're not getting good value, look at other places where your customers are trying to find you. My argument is that you need to be in at least 3 places. You need to have your physical location, but you need to be in 2 or 3 other places where people are looking for you so that they can find you. And if you're not online and they can't find you online, you're out of business. Promotion. Now, this is where we usually focus all of our attention because we want to do advertising. There is no formula for how much money you should spend on advertising. I've heard people say, well, you should spend 7% of your gross sales on advertising. You should spend 3.5% of your... No, there is no number. There is not a number that fits every business. There's not even a rule of thumb. I mean, the rule of thumb here is that there is no rule of thumb. You need to spend what it takes to get in front of your customers. Now, you don't always have to spend anything. There are 2 types of promotion. One is paid. That's advertising. Advertising says, I'm going to pay to be on this billboard, in this newspaper ad, in this radio spot, maybe a local television ad, or maybe a chamber of commerce website, or I'm going to pay to be there so that I make sure every time somebody goes there, they see my business. Okay. If you pay for it, it's advertising. If you've ever heard the term free advertising, there's no such thing. Advertising is paid. The free stuff, though, is public relations, PR. That's where you write something, submit it to the newspaper runs a press release, or they run an article, or one of your customers writes a review or says something nice about you online on Yelp, TripAdvisor, Facebook, somewhere like that. They're going to say something nice about you. It's unsolicited in a lot of cases. It should be unsolicited. You don't want to go around begging for people to say nice things about you. It's not a good look. But public relations is just other people saying nice things about you. When they say great things about you, that's value that you probably could never afford. The danger here, though, is that you can't always control what people say about you. That's why you don't want to rely on the free stuff, because waiting for someone to say something nice about you, sometimes the very best you can hope for is that they just forget and don't write anything at all. Sometimes people are saying, well, I never give 5 stars because I just don't believe anybody's perfect, so I'm going to give them 3. Well, maybe you gave 5-star service. Maybe you bent over backward to take care of somebody and they're giving you a 3. You can't control that. So you need to put both the free and the paid together to promote your business. But the final ingredient in our cake is one that, even if you have the right product at the right price in the right place and promoted the right way to the right people, if this last one is not right, then everything else is broken. Everything else is out the window. It doesn't matter how good your product is. It doesn't matter how right and how good your price is. It doesn't matter how much value it communicates. It doesn't matter how much time you spent developing your price. None of these things matter if you don't have the right people. We do a lot of training with our customers, with our clients. We do a lot of training to help them deliver great service to their customers. We do all kinds of, we do customer service training. We do supervision training. We do a lot of things to help people develop people. Now, if you're in a business by yourself, you're the only person, it's a one-person show, you are the people. You can't afford to have a bad day. Your customers don't care that you woke up with a headache and the kids didn't want to get ready to go to school, and the breakfast dishes were left on the table, and everybody ran out the door and nobody combed their hair or brushed their teeth. Your customers don't care. They want to be dealt with in a trustworthy, friendly, compassionate way. They want to be taken care of. Your customers want to be the center of your universe. Now, there's a saying, you probably heard this, that the customer is always right. Just between us, just between friends, I'm going to admit that that's not the truth. Sometimes customers are dangerously wrong. Sometimes customers don't understand why they have to buckle this or attach that or use this in such a way, or don't touch that, or they don't understand those things. So how we help people understand why we're doing what we do is part of our communication. And remember, we're never not communicating. The more information we give to people, the better. We have people who we have an Airbnb, my wife and I, attached to our house. When the kids moved out, we took one of our rooms and we turned it into a separate Airbnb so people can come and go as they please. We're right across the street from a university, so we have a lot of parents who come to town. And time again, people walk up to the wrong door and they say, the code doesn't work. I can't get in this door. And we ask them, hey, have you tried the other door, the one that's in the pictures? And while I want to be a real smart aleck about it, I can't. I have to be nice, because even if I'm feeling bad, even if it's the 1,000th time I've answered that question about that stupid door, it's the first time they've asked. They don't know that I've answered that question 1,000 times, and I roll my eyes every time I see that. And we're very careful to point out, hey, this is not the door. This other door is the door. But people don't read, and I understand that. If you look at Disney World, Walt Disney Properties has very much the same philosophy. You have a kid who's maybe 17 years old. He's a street sweeper. He's been in the hot Orlando sun all day. He's been working his tail off, and somebody comes up 5 minutes before his shift ends, and they say, my kid's really got to go. Where's the restroom? Okay, Disney has a policy. That kid is not going to point that family in the direction of a restroom. He's going to stop what he's doing. He's going to take them to the restroom. He's going to make sure they get where they need to go and get to the closest, quickest one, because that's the Disney way. And it might have been the 300th time that day that poor 17-year-old has heard that question. But it's the first time that family has asked it. And how does Disney differentiate? They don't differentiate based on the product. Okay, let's face it, they got some really cool products, a lot of things that are attached to their movies and a lot of themed rides. If you're a roller coaster person, you're not going to be impressed with Disney's roller coasters. So, their product is cool, but it's not necessarily the best. Their price, outrageous. If you just have a pile of cash that you want to set on fire, Disney will take it. You don't have to burn it. They will take it. Their price is higher, but they get people from all over the world coming into Orlando. I mean, Disney World in Orlando sees more guests than a lot of states get as tourists. So not just Orlando, Disney World. Their price is high, but they know what they've got. Place. Yeah, it's hot, but everybody knows that in the wintertime I can escape the cold. I can go down to Disney. We take the kids down there in January, February. It's going to be a nice warm place for us to have a vacation. Promotion. Yeah, I mean, Disney has done a pretty good job promoting over the years, but it's still not what sets them apart. It's the people. People is the key ingredient for Disney. And because they train their people so well that they've done such a good job differentiating their experience, because product doesn't really create an experience. Price doesn't create an experience. Place can create an experience. Promotion doesn't, but people absolutely create an experience. So when you encounter people who work at Disney, it's a different level of service. It's a different level of care than you get at other places. In fact, so much so that Disney has created a university where companies of all types, from all over the world, gather to learn how Disney does what they do. And this got to be so popular, they ran out of room. So now, for a price, Disney will come to you and teach you the Disney way. They will teach you how to do it the way they do it. It is such a huge differentiating factor for them. So yes, you need all of these ingredients in the right proportions, in the right amounts, to make the right tasting cake. But without any one of these, the cake falls apart. For you, your place might be your differentiating factor. Your product itself. You might be an artist and nobody else does what you do. That is a differentiating factor. I believe people is always a differentiating factor. If you're an artist and you work alone, people are not just buying the product. They're buying you. They're buying your culture. They're buying your story. They're buying your background. They're buying not just the 3 hours or 3 days it took you to make that thing. They're buying the 30 years it took you to learn the craft, to learn how to do. They're buying the history from the people who taught you how to do that. So people is essential, is a key ingredient. And when I was coming through marketing courses close to 40 years ago, wow, I can't believe it, 40 years ago, there were only 4 P's. We just left people out of it altogether. But about 20 years ago, we realized that you can't do this without people. And you've got to be on your game every day. Again, if you are the only person in the business, sometimes you just have to smile and act like you're having a good day. Because that's going to be the difference between getting somebody to come back and do business with you again versus telling their friends, don't ever do business with this person or this business because they're nasty. They'll never die. They'll just nasty away. You know, you don't want people talking about you like that. You want people to say, not only is this work fantastic, these are just the friendliest people to deal with. We trust them. We love them. That's the kind of thing you want people to talk about. In that you cannot control what people say, you can influence what people say about you. And the standing out is no accident. Look, you can hope to stand out. You can hope to be different, or you can make it happen. And all of the companies that I'm aware of that have differentiated themselves, that have put on that mark of distinction, they stand out. They do it deliberately. They've made a decision to stand out. Now, a few of them made the decision to stand out after they realized, hey, there's a reason people are talking about us. Let's find out what that is. Sometimes their customers had to tell them, but they capitalized on that in a very deliberate way. So let's talk about this. All businesses need these three things. All businesses, if you're going to, this is the price of admission. If you're going to do business, you have to have money. You have to have your own money. You have to have something in the game, because if you're not willing to bet on yourself, why would a bank bet 100% on you? Why would they take 100% of the risk if you're not willing to bet something on you and your product and your idea and your ability to make this business work? So you have to have some money. You have to be able to get money. You know, this is why Sequoia Fund exists. We're here to change lives. We're here to help people improve their financial condition, not only improve their financial condition, but the financial condition of their children, their family, their community, generations down the line. We like to think we're part of that. But you have to also have an idea. Now, I'm going to morph this idea just a little bit. Idea is well, everybody has ideas. I have probably 10 good ideas every day. And most days, all 10 of those just fade into the ether because I don't write them down. I don't do anything about them. I don't figure out a way to implement them or mix them in with something else I'm doing. It's just a flash of an idea and it's gone. So ideas don't really mean that much by themselves. But when you pair an idea with some money and some resources, that idea then becomes an opportunity. And I just didn't have enough room to put the word opportunity in that little circle. So think about it that way. An idea is one thing, but when that idea becomes an opportunity, that's when you start to know that you've got the real deal. But you also need resources. Now, resources comes in a wide variety of colors. Your resources could be your own personal skills, your education, your background, your motivation. It could be that this is a family business and you have talented people in your family who can work and do these things. Your resources might be community resources, that there are events within your community that allow you to showcase your talent and your ideas. Your resources might be that you have local organizations that will help promote you. One of your resources might be a local college or community college that can bulk up knowledge in certain areas. That maybe you need to learn a little bit more about bookkeeping. Maybe you need to learn a little bit more about how to take advantage of tax breaks. Well, if you can go to a community college, or even the local library might have learning opportunities for you to attend. Sequoia Fund, every Wednesday, we run what we call a Webinar Wednesday. You're sitting in the middle of a valuable resource right now. Thank you. A little commercial here for the Native Learning Center. This is an extremely valuable resource. But I want you to take inventory of all of the resources you have and all the resources you have access to. because those are going to be things that are going to help you learn more, be better, stand out. But this is not enough. This is just a piece of the puzzle. You also need a passion. You know, Colonel Sanders, he fried chicken better than anybody else. He was 65 years old. He said, what can I do? I can sit around and collect, at the time was about $200 a month in Social Security. He said, I can collect $200 in Social Security and I can wait to die. Or I can do something, and I'm too energetic to do nothing. He said, I fry chicken better than anybody else. And he built a business at 65 on that passion. Truett Cathy did the same thing with chicken down in Atlanta. He loved serving customers. His passion was making a good product, but his real passion, the thing that got him up every day, was hearing cars pull up in the driveway or in the parking lot. He lived adjacent to his restaurant. And when he heard customers coming in, his brother ran the grill. He was the one actually cooking the food. Truett Cathy, founder of Chick-fil-A, would show up and he would just love on his customers. He would just take care of his customers. He would bend over backward to do whatever his customers needed. And that was his passion. So what are you passionate about? What gets you out of bed even on your worst day? What can you just not wait to do that day? You need some level of talent. Now, look, if he'd gotten excited about making chicken sandwiches, but he made really crappy chicken sandwiches, the rest of this kind of falls apart. There's got to be some talent that you have, and what we start to think about is, what do you do better, or what could you be better at than anybody else? You don't actually have to be the best dog groomer in your field. You don't have to be the best dermatologist or lawn care person. You don't have to be the best, but you have a passion to strive for excellence. So what could you be the best at? Maybe if you mow lawns in your business, maybe mowing lawns is not necessarily the big talent, but adding value to people's homes by making their lawn look immaculate. That's your talent. It's not the actual work you do. It's the value that you bring to your customer. Maybe it's the trust that you bring, saying, hey, we need to put this really expensive stuff on your yard to make your yard look great. Or we need to put this on there to take out invasive species or invasive critters. Here in North Carolina, North Carolina has a statewide program to remove the Bartlett pear. If any of you have Bartlett pears near you, you know that they're an invasive tree. They smell terrible. They look beautiful. Just stay in your car and look at them. If you get out, they smell awful when they bloom, and they take over other trees. So, but again, look for the talent. Look for the thing that you bring to the table. And last but not least, you need to have a full and complete understanding of your key driver, that thing that turns your economic engine. Your key driver is that one thing that makes you money, that people buy, that they would stand in line for, that they would camp out for. Think about the iPhone. Think about the early iPods. People would camp out in terrible weather to be the first one in the door to get that brand new iPhone. Nowadays, we're kind of saturated the market. We don't see that as much. I think if they came out with something new and wowed us as much as an iPhone, maybe we'll see that again someday. But you need to think about, what is that key element in your business that turns your economic engine. For Chick-fil-A, it was the chicken sandwich. Now, yes, they do salads, they do desserts, they do milkshakes, they do a lot of things, but without the chicken sandwich, there is no Chick-fil-A. So what is that one thing that you need to make sure is perfect every single time? That's your key driver. If you put all of these things together, now you start to stand out. But are you seeing something here? Are you seeing that this is going to take some work? Being run of the mill, being the same old, that's easy. Anybody can do that. But if you're going to stand out, you got to put in the work. Let's walk up the pyramid of distinction, or let's walk down the pyramid of distinction. The pyramid of distinction. every company that's going to be distinct needs a mission. Why do you exist? It's a statement of why are you here? Why are you here? Are you here to serve people? Are you here to make the best art possible? Are you here to carry on a family tradition? Are you here to make sure that what you do lasts for generations? What is that reason that you exist? And then you say, well, what do I want other people to think? What is their vision? If I fulfill my mission, what does the world look like if I do what I say I'm going to do? You have to have not just the mission, but the vision as well. How are you going to change the world? Now, that world might just be your very small world right around you, and that's okay. There are a lot of businesses that determine very deliberately to remain small. Nothing wrong with that. But what does that world look like if you achieve your mission? The communication, again, we're always communicating. What do I have to do to get people to think what I think? I think this about our product or service. This is what I think we can do. This is how the world will look. How do I get people to think that? And then I've got to be able to measure it. How will I know when they think what I want them to think? How will I know that they are there? Okay. If you can answer these questions, again, you are on your way to standing out, being distinct, differentiating from everybody else in the pack. Let's walk up the steps of distinction, because most businesses start way over here on the left and they stay there. Unfortunately, they stay there. The businesses that separate themselves from the rest go all the way up the stairs. If you're just about creating revenue, and every business is, when you're just starting out, you're trying to generate revenue. You're trying to make some money. You're trying to get dollars in the door. If you're doing that, that's part of the game. That's what you have to do. But if you stay there and you think about every customer who walks in as just another transaction, give me your dollars and get out of my face, then that is a recipe for disaster. You're almost assured extinction. But as you start to move up and you say, okay, now that I'm mowing lawns, now that I've got a pretty stable customer base mowing lawns, let me offer some extras. Can I do pressure washing? Can I do gutter cleaning? Can I do some landscaping? Can I do some hardscaping? Are there things that I can do that are adjacent to what I do best? And so I'm typing a word into the chat here. I want everybody to take note of the word adjacencies. I'm a great lawn guy. I am not going to start detailing cars because I work on lawns. I work with grass. I work with pea gravel. I work in the dirt. I don't work on cars. If I start working on cars, it's not adjacent to what people trust me to do, and I'm going to lose trust. So to move out of the danger zone, we have to start looking for adjacencies. What are those things that we do that are closely related? And we find that once we start to do those things, customers almost start to demand them as a basic level of service. Look, if you mow a lawn and you use a blower to blow off all the grass from the driveway and the walkway and things like that, why would you stop doing that? That's a basic level of service. Okay, but when you start to do those things, you're moving from revenue to reputation. When you move from revenue to reputation, that just says to people, hey, I trust this person to do this. They've got a good, if you need a referral, well, that's the next step. That's the next step. But now you know that you have a reputation because people are starting to talk about you to other people. That puts you in a zone of safety. Customers are starting to recognize your value. This level starts to separate you. You're no longer considered one of the run-of-the-mill lower level, just do the basic kind of businesses. You're not necessarily out of the woods, but you're probably not going to go extinct. You're in a what I would just call a safe zone. But as you start to generate referrals, now let me back up here and say I want to focus on the word generate, not wait. You're not going to wait for referrals. You're going to generate referrals. If you wait for other people to say nice things about you and tell their friends, you're going to be waiting a long time because people just don't. What you need to do is say, hey, you're happy with the way your lawn looks. Can you give me the name of 2 or 3 neighbors who might also need this service? I had a friend who he wrote a best-selling book, and while he was writing his book, his wife said, you need to get out of the house and do something. You're driving me crazy. So he started a little lawn mowing business. He said it got him out of the house. It made him a little extra money, and it gave him some exercise. And he had a customer. His very first customer was very happy. She came out. She said, oh, this looks lovely. He said, would you mind if I used your name to talk to the other neighbors? Could I use you as a reference? And she said, oh, yes, absolutely. He carried with him. Now, this is very high tech, very high tech. You'll need to write this down. He carried a pack of 3x5 note cards, just blank index cards. He carried rubber bands, and he carried a hole punch, and he had a $25 rubber stamp made. Once he had a happy customer, he would stamp a message on that card, and he would hang it using the hole punch and the rubber bands. He would hang it on every door around that house in the neighborhood. And here's what that rubber stamp said. My name is Mike. I just mowed blank's lawn. If you love the way it looks, blank does too. And she said that she'd be happy if you called on me to service your lawn too. He got more business from that. In fact, by the time his book was done, he sold his lawn care business to somebody else because he had that many customers and he had that kind of reputation. So you start to separate yourself with professionalism. There are people who would mow the grass and drive away and never, ever think about putting something on the door at all the neighbors' houses. But when you get to this level, once you get in that referral to relationship level, people stop asking you about your price. People stop complaining, oh, you're too expensive. Well, now they know, they recognize your value. Once you start building relationships, you become the go-to. We have a lady here who she's an excellent potter, wonderful potter. And when my friend needed a wedding pot as a wedding gift, I didn't think twice. I knew exactly who to send him to. I said, let me just call her and see if she's got time to make one. He didn't have to do anything, and she didn't have to do anything. I became a happy matchmaker. All right, so once you get into that zone, you've got other people communicating your value. You don't even have to think about it. Once you start building relationships, and look, we're all in the relationship business. We may not be thinking about the relationships at first, but if you keep that in mind, that's the top of the stairs. That's where you want to be. You want to have relationships. You become invaluable. Nobody would consider doing business with anyone else. If you're not available, they'll wait. You have more people in the pipeline than you can serve. Maybe you need to hire someone. Maybe you need to raise your prices. You can raise prices at that point to kind of make it worth hiring someone else. Teach them how you do this. Your customers are going to start saying nice things about you. And then you can say, look, would you mind if I held my phone up and videoed you saying nice things? I want to put that on my website or on my social media. You can't buy that kind of testimonial. People start to see you as essential, necessary. And at that point, only a screaming meteor out of space is going to cause you to go extinct. So you have a worksheet here. What is going to help you move up? Where are you in this spectrum? And what steps do you need to take to move up this set of steps? That nobody's going to check your homework on this, so be brutally honest. be thinking about what that's going to take. At this point, I'm going to ask Brooke if she will open up everybody's mic so that we can kind of talk about this a little bit. When we start to think about companies that stand out, brands that stand out, and that's one of the reasons I put Taylor Swift on here. She is more than just a musician, songwriter. She is now a brand. In fact, I would say she's probably been elevated or graduated to icon status. But and there, because everybody's online and we don't know who's saying what or whatever. I'm not going to ask for names, but we're going to have a little fun here. I want somebody. We're going to come up with 3 words from that we think of when we think of Mercedes-Benz. So throw a word out there for Mercedes-Benz.
Everybody should be able to unmute now if y'all want to try to connect your mic.
And that's at the top of the screen, right, Brooke?
Yes. Yeah. If you click on that microphone icon that's next to the speaker icon all the way at the top, y'all should be able to unmute now. All of you have the rights.
Yeah, we're a small group, so we're not going to break up into other groups. But give me something, and if you don't feel comfortable talking, you can type it into your chat. But give me a word for Mercedes-Benz. This might be a short activity.
Yeah, and then if y'all aren't, if you're struggling to get the mic going, feel free to utilize the chat like Russ had said. But all of you do have microphone rights now. It might help if you see a little white arrow next to your microphone icon. If you click on that, it'll often have different options for how to connect your mic, whether you're using headphones or whether you're just using the mic on your device. So it might help to go up there and see where your microphone's coming from. And then if you have a line through it and it's gray, that means your microphone's off. And if you click on it and it's illuminated green, that means it's on.
So let's not limit ourselves just to Mercedes-Benz. Pick something on this list and give me one word that comes to mind. And don't think too hard about this. We want this to sort of be, the first thing that comes to mind. What are some of the things that hit you about some of these brands? And I see someone's typing in the chat. Excellent. So it doesn't always have to be a positive word. Thank you, Joanna. It doesn't always have to be a positive word when you see a brand. I mean, and I'm sure there are going to be other brands. I mean, I'm not all that keen on Microsoft. We're switching over. For years, we've been a sort of BYOT, bring your own technology office, and we've patched together certain technologies that just work for us, but they're not always the safest when it comes to data security. So we're migrating everything over to Microsoft, and yeah, I could fill your ear with some of my opinions, but when I look at Whole Foods, and I think one of the things that people say about Whole Foods, they call it whole paycheck. So people might say expensive. Taylor Swift might be icon. U.S. Marines might be tough. H&R Block might be taxes or tough or green. So what we want to do is when you create your business name, your concept, I want you to give the 3-word test to people. What are 3 words that come to mind when they see that name? If you saw the word Nike, or if you saw the word Cleveland Browns, or if you saw the word LA Dodgers, what are some of the connotations around that? The reason we want to do this, and this is the reason we want to test this, your brand is not just the visual representation of you, and it's not just what you say you are. Your brand is what other people think you are in the context of their lives. Now, Joanna might say, yeah, I don't want McDonald's. McDonald's makes me sick. But if you're driving down a lonely highway in the middle of nowhere and you're starving, and the only sign that you see for miles is a McDonald's coming up in 15 miles and there's nothing else at that exit, you might stop there and say, I'll take some fries or something. You're probably not going to get food poisoning from French fries. But again, we have visual and visceral reactions to brands. What is the 3-word test for your brand? Now, the beautiful thing about this, Joanna, is you don't have to worry about that. Usually where there's a McDonald's, there's something else, because they've learned to cluster. Fast food restaurants cluster. Drugstores sometimes cluster. Auto dealerships will cluster, because if I have a Ford dealership and you're shopping for a Chevy, well, if the Chevy dealer doesn't have what you're looking for, you might come across the street and shop at the Ford or the Toyota or the Honda dealer. So a lot of these gas stations cluster as well. Well, all the pumps are full at this gas station. I'll just go across the street to this other gas is the same price. We want to know what people think about us. And so a 3-word test is going to be extremely valuable for you to know the brutal, honest truth about what people think of you, and not something that they have to think about. What's that very first thing that comes to mind? So there are 3 things that all customers demand for them to see us as excellent. And again, this is really just the price of admission. We should be doing these things anyway. They want to know that we have quality. They want to know that we have quality. So, Joanne, I don't know what your take is on Chick-fil-A, but I'm going to use Chick-fil-A sandwiches just for a second, because as chicken sandwiches go, it's a good quality. It has to be good. If it's a dry, tasteless chicken, probably not going to be great. Now, if you look at a picture of a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich versus a McChicken or something from McDonald's or even Burger King or Arby's, you're probably not going to see a whole lot of difference. You would probably recognize it, but again, a chicken sandwich is a chicken sandwich. But it's got to be good quality. So whatever it is that we do has to work, has to be good quality. We have to get results, or there's no reason for us to be here. It has to be good every single time. So there has to be consistency. And this is one of the things that restaurants all over the world struggle with is, how do I get that steak at Applebee's to taste the same as every other steak at every other Applebee's? How do I get that sandwich to taste the same as every other sandwich in our chain? People want to know that it's good, and it's good every time. Now, the product doesn't just have to be good quality. The service has to be good quality. The way people feel when they walk out the door has to be good quality, and it has to be good quality every single time. And the key to that is capacity. I can be friendly and I can put out a good quality product and I can do it consistently. But if I can only do 3 a day and I've got 2,000 people standing on a line outside the door waiting for me, I don't have the capacity to take care of them. The world that we live in today is that people want what they want when they want it. Now, I'm not a potter. I am not a basket maker. I am not an artist, but I'm going to talk to you about something that I do know, and that is guitars. The guitars that James Taylor plays in his concerts are made by one man. James Taylor showed up at a concert once, and this man wanted James Taylor to play guitar, and he found somebody backstage and he handed the guy a guitar and he said, if you have a chance, he said, tune this thing up, let James play it. If he likes it, he can have it. I'll give it to him. The assistant comes out on stage and hands this guitar to James Taylor. James Taylor's never seen it before, but a guitar is a guitar. It's tuned up. It's ready to go. He plays it. After the concert, he goes back to his assistant. He said, where did this guitar come from? He said, I want to meet the person who made this. Because James Taylor loved that guitar and people found out about it, this guy who was making about 5 or 6 guitars a year, his phone started to blow up. He started getting calls from all over the world to make guitars. Now, his capacity was very low. He said, I can make this many guitars and I can feel comfortable with the quality. If I get into mass production, I'm not going to feel good about that. So what did he do? He managed his capacity. Instead of saying, I'm going to hire a bunch of people and open up a production facility and I'm going to make these guitars and I'm going to sell them to anybody and I'm going to keep them cheap. He said, the guitar that I sold to James Taylor would be about $5,000. I'm going to sell this same guitar to somebody else for $20,000 or $25,000. You know, nowadays, one of his guitars is going for upwards of $30,000. There are fewer people who will pay that amount for his guitar. But it allows him to produce good, consistent quality with every guitar, and it makes it worth his while to make maybe 1 or 2 extra a year because he's now got the capacity. So you can control capacity by adding people, adding money, adding staff, adding production capability. Or you can control capacity by saying, my stuff is so good, I'm going to charge a lot more for it, which means I'm going to lower demand. I'm going to bring down that demand. Well, I love that guitar, but I can't afford $30,000 for a guitar, so I'm going to go out and buy something else. I'll buy a Yamaha, I'll buy a Martin, I'll buy a Taylor, I'll buy something else. And those are not cheap, but they're not $30,000. But if we produce good quality work that is excellent every single time, and we have the capacity to make our customers happy, we start to become distinct. We start to stand out. A professor of mine, he recently passed away. Back in the 80s, he said something that was so simple and so profound that has stuck with me for 40 years. He said, business is simple. Keep the customers you have and get more. If we can do these things, we will not go extinct. One of the last things I want us to do is I want us to think about the different service levels that we've received at different businesses, different organizations over the years. And let's think about who takes care of us. Here in Cherokee, there is the spirit of what's called Gadugi, giving back, taking care of people with no expectation of a return, no expectation of payback, no expectation of payment. Just Gadugi is just taking care of people, you know. And we have a board member who is always standing by to sign checks, to take care of things that we need. She's been fantastic. And she once missed a board meeting. And at that meeting, we voted to pay her a little stipend because she's always available. And she was offended. She said, you're getting in the way of my Gadugi, and I don't appreciate that. And we took that to heart. She served because she had a heart for service. She wanted to give to us. She wanted to give to the community. And we acknowledged that and we appreciated that. And so we had to rescind that vote. We had to say, no, we're not going to give her this stipend. But think about the service superstars you've encountered, whether it's at a restaurant, whether it's at a clothing store, a theme park, a gas station, an auto repair shop, a daycare, wherever it is, a school. Maybe it's been at a government office. You just never know where you're going to run into excellent service. I got excellent service at the tax office in North Carolina, about an hour away. I had an issue. I had to drive over there, and I tell you, this government worker who had absolutely no incentive to be nice to me and bend over backward to take care of me, other than that's just who she was, wowed my socks off. So, who are the service superstars you know? We're not all perfect. I know that I am most of the time. But hey, even the best of us blow it. I mean, we really blow it. But maybe you've encountered someone who blew it and came back to fix the problem, and that won you over. Maybe they made things right and they regained your trust and it rebuilt that relationship. If you can wow people consistently, but when you blow it, if you can fix the problem, win them back, that is a differentiator. That helps you become distinct. Think about the consistent performers out there. You shop at a shoe store or a clothing store or on a website because you know every single time you're going to get exactly what you wanted. They're going to hit that mark every single time without fail. It doesn't take laser light shows and fireworks to impress people. I'm often impressed by people who do exactly what they say they're going to do every single time. And then who are the last resorts? You buy it because you've got no other choice. I mean, McDonald's is not really food. It's fuel, right? So if you're willing to roll the dice and have that Big Mac, overcome that trauma from the past, yeah, it'll provide some calories. There are places that we shop because there's nowhere else in town to shop. There's no other place to buy these tires or get this repair done or fix our air conditioner. Often, the people providing those products and services know they're the only game in town, and they act accordingly. What they're doing is opening the door for a competitor who can make them extinct. In the last few minutes that we've got, let's go through a distinction plan because I want you to have a plan for how you're going to stand out. I don't want anybody in this webinar today to have to sit down. You need a distinction plan, and this is on the last page of your worksheet. Your overt benefit is the thing that hits people right over the head, and it says you can't ignore the value I'm bringing to you. Your overt benefit is maybe it's convenience, maybe it's delivery time, maybe it's just high quality work. Maybe your overt benefit is I'm showing up exactly when I told you I was going to be there. I'm not giving you a window between 10 o'clock and next Tuesday. I'm giving you a window of between 10 and 11, and I'm going to show up at 10:02. Or telling people exactly what time you're going to be there. So what is that overt benefit? When you think about toothpaste, the overt benefit of Crest is it fights cavities. It's not the best tasting toothpaste in the world, but for years, and again, I've got a little gray in the beard, so you'll see that there, that I grew up on commercials that said, if you want no cavities, use Crest toothpaste. If you want whiter teeth, use this other kind of toothpaste. But if you want to avoid cavities, Crest is it. That was an overt benefit. Angel Soft has for years had that. I think it's the little teddy bear as their mascot. Showing that your toilet paper is just so soft and cuddly. It's like a little cuddly teddy bear. That's an overt benefit. It's the thing that people can't ignore. You have to be able to define your overt benefit. You have to define your promise to your customers. Now, your promise might not even be something that you state out loud. If you've ever been to a resort or a hotel where the brochure or the website just had a beautiful view of the ocean or a beautiful view of mountains, and you show up and your view is of the dumpster, and the heating and air conditioning systems and maybe the parking deck. They broke their promise because they promised you visually that you were going to see some stunning views, and you did not. You have to define what you're promising people. Are you promising them beautiful views, or are you just promising them a comfortable bed and a quiet place to sleep? You can define that. You have to craft a message from your promise. So what is that message? In other words, how do we get people to think what we think from that pyramid of distinction? What is the promise we're making, and how do we craft a message that gets through to people? And then where can our customers find us? We need to be very clear on the 3 to 5 places where customers can locate us or get information about us. Can we create and share something new? Can I teach a course on how to do this or that? Can I show people, not by standing on a soapbox and yelling, I'm the expert, I'm the best? Can we show them? Can we offer a cooking class in our restaurant? Can we show them how to prepare traditional foods? Can we show them, here are the ways that we would do this in a professional kitchen. You can do this at home. Once we do that, we're automatically elevated to that level of expert. And people love to do business with experts because experts are distinct. They stand out. Think about Guy Fieri. Guy Fieri, wild hair, earrings, tattoos, goatee, red car, diners, drive-ins, dives. He has created something distinct there, different from all other food shows. Last but not least, I want to tell you a real quick story about a man named Barnacle Bill. I couldn't tell you what Bill's real name is. Bill has since retired. Bill's business is now being run by his daughter. My wife and I took a vacation probably close to 20 years ago to Hilton Head, South Carolina. She had heard of this place where we could go to get fresh fish. It's called Barnacle Bill's. She sent me out on a mission to go find some fish that we could grill that night and have some fresh fish for dinner. And I drove around for about an hour and I could not find this place. And then I noticed it sitting way back off the road under a little grove of trees with a U-shaped driveway that went all the way around it was this little cinder block building that literally on 3 sides of this 4-sided building had corrugated steel that in the morning he would raise it up and lock it in place, and it was just open air. At the end of the day, he would close those down and lock it up, and it was secure. There was a line of cars waiting to get into this place. There was also a line of people waiting in line to buy fish. Would you stand in line to buy fish? I didn't think I would either, but I did. And as I'm standing out there in that hot South Carolina sun, waiting to buy fish, I notice that there are ice cold wash tubs full of beer. Because if you're going to stand out in the hot sun and you're going to be talking to your fellow people in line, you having a beer, that's a nice thing. I get closer to the front of the line and I notice this man who is talking to people about fish. And he's talking to a woman about fish like she is the only person in line. I'm thinking, man, hurry it up, guy. Come on. Can't you see the number of people waiting out here? Let's move it along. And he's talking to her about how to prepare this fish and how to store it and how to season it. And she's the only person in line. And the closer I got, the more I realized that Barnacle Bill, and this was the name of the business, Barnacle Bill's, the more I realized that for that customer in front of Barnacle Bill, there were no other customers in the world. There was nobody else there. His mark of distinction, the thing that set him apart from everybody else, was that he cared about the person standing in front of him, and nobody else in line cared about the length of the line or the time and the wait, because they realized when it's my turn, Barnacle Bill is going to take care of me. Now, there were There were grocery stores, there were seafood markets, there were all kinds of places down there where you could buy seafood. And people stood out in the sun with a cold beer in their hand, free, by the way. He never charged for the beer. The more you drank, the more you bought. People would stand in that line and wait for Barnacle Bill because he stood out. He decided to stand out from everybody else. And if you can find your Barnacle Bill, if you can find that thing that causes you to stand out from everybody else, it will make your business distinct and extinction proof. I'm going to turn it back over to Brooke. Thank you again so much for spending this afternoon with me. If it's morning wherever you are, thank you for spending this morning with me. And I'll let you go from here, Brooke. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much for that fantastic presentation, Russ. We always appreciate your thoughts and your time. I have gone ahead and launched the webinar feedback survey for everybody. If you wouldn't mind just taking a minute or two to complete that for us. We also share that feedback with Russ. It helps all of us do more of what's working well, and it helps us to know what to tweak so that we can make it even better for y'all next time. So I'm going to launch that one more time, and then if y'all could just take a minute or two, it would be most appreciated. We hope you can join us for our next webinar that is going to be later on this week on Thursday, the 4th. And that's about feedback and performance improvement discussions with Lisa I. Perez. As always, registration is free. Feel free to access this and any other recorded webinars online on our website, nativelearningcenter.com. There's a Catheta webinar section featuring a whole recorded webinars page. So you can see any of the webinars that we've done for about the past 2 years. So feel free to view those, share them with your friends, share them with your colleagues. And please also check out our upcoming events. They're posted to our various social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And we do have a podcast titled the Hopa-Thenga Native American Podcast, where we discuss more focused topics within Native American housing and self-determination. And you can find that on Simplecast, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And you can also view the video recordings with our guests on YouTube if you're somebody who prefers to watch as well. All right, folks, thank you again so much for joining us this afternoon. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you again, Russ, for such an incredible webinar. And I hope to connect with everybody again real soon.
Thank you, Brooke.
Go ahead and close it out.